My name is John Pasfield, and the title of this reading will be Terry Fox Video 7, The Reflective Journal. This is my novel, Terry Fox, Somewhere the Hurting Must Stop. But in this video, I'm going to read from the journal, which I wrote as a response to the rough draft of the novel as I was polishing it just before sending it to my publisher. The title of the journal is The Making of Somewhere the Hurting Must Stop. And it can be found and accessed for free on my website, johnpasfield.ca, all one word. The novel is 54,000 words, and the journal is, I was surprised when I checked this, 98,000 words, which makes it one of the longest journals that I've ever written. In this reading, I'm going to present 5 passages as a sample of what the Terry Fox Journal contains. So there's an awful lot in that journal. Obviously, my thoughts on Terry Fox, on Canada, on 1980 in Canada, and later on and so on the world, all kinds of things. Mostly about novels and how they are written and how I write them. But anyway, wow, I'm amazed at how many words I came up with. Here's the first passage from the journal which I've selected. I see a novel, the kind I like to write, as inviting the reader to participate in the unfolding of the story, the idea plot, as an actor who inhabits the character of a play. So the reader plays the character, feels as if he is the character. My novels are written in images. I often say in my planning notebooks and journals that I present the imagery by which the main character thinks, but not his or her thoughts. I write as my main characters think in image blocks with spaces between them. The spaces represent the thematic glue or thematic connectors which link the image blocks together in order to give meaning to the story of the main character as he or she thinks his or her way through life. The lack of a narrator and an open end when the novel ceases to generate imagery invite the reader to supply the meaning of the novel as it applies to the imaginary main character and to the real life reader. Passage number 2. The character meaning is speculation, of course, as the main character's printed and readable image patterns are being combined with the character's unprinted and therefore unreadable image patterns in order to generate an even more comprehensive image pattern which produces meaning. So if Terry Fox thinks that the road ahead is very steep, that's an image. But what is he thinking about that? I wish I wasn't here. I'm glad I'm here. I find challenges enjoyable and exhilarating, or I'm getting weak and weary. It's just an image. The road ahead is very steep. That's the way I write my novels. Okay, passage number 3. The reader in similar fashion will find in his or her role as the character actor that the printed and readable image patterns of a novel are being combined with the reader's unprinted and therefore unreadable image patterns, which a lifetime experience and thought have generated in order to produce potential meaning for the reader. So when you see that image in the mind of the main character, the road ahead is very steep, what are you thinking? Well, that's not printed, but it's certainly in your mind as a reader. Passage number 4. I've used the term potential meaning as the process of image formation takes place in the mind of the main character and in the mind of the reader. This means that there could well be 2 possibilities for meaning for each of the 2 characters, the main character and the reader character. Number 1, success or failure processing the image patterns which the action and thought sequence of the text of a novel has generated in the preconscious mind. So sometimes we see imagery from the news, say, and we don't really have any thoughts. We don't process the imagery. We're more interested in maybe the game that's going to come on in a few minutes. Okay, now, secondly, success or failure to benefit from the thinking process by either a conscious understanding of a successful processing of the image pattern or a subconscious understanding of successful processing of the image pattern. with a resultant change in the character's approach to life, even though the understanding might remain subliminal. Well, fancy language there, but sometimes we have a conscious thought and we act deliberately. Other times we just act differently. Don't eat as much at Christmas dinner or something without a conscious thought about why. So that's the question there concerning the character and the reader. Will the reader be affected without actually consciously knowing why? Number 5, the final passage I've selected from the Terry Fox Journal. I've been drawn to the Terry Fox story because I believe that it will allow me to write a novel which will explore all of the above concepts at a satisfactory level, at both the mythical level of the story, in brackets, a physical and mental quest myth, and at the everyday level, in brackets, a young man runs across Canada under mental and physical stresses. The Terry Fox story strikes me as the best objective correlative or idea pattern for me to explore in novel form at this time. So it's a specific story of a young man named Terry Fox who runs across a particular country, Canada. But it's a mythical story of a human being who accepts a tremendous challenge under great difficulties and goes ahead with it. Summons up everything he has in him, mentally and physically, and goes at it. So it's two things, a particular specific story and a myth at the same time. Here's a note that I wrote for this reading. I'm not sure when I realized the problem that my series of novels was designed to solve. I had started writing novels with the idea that I did not want to write the traditional novel of single narrative, linear, sequential events which only the surface of character, setting, and action. I wanted to write novels in which the order of presented events would be based on the concept that the human mind considers multiple narratives at the same time, that it reviews events not in the order in which they occur in the life experience, but in an order which is based on juxtaposition, in an effort to reveal similarities and dissimilarities among the many events of the years and decades of our experience, and in which the surface of character, setting, and event is broken by the insertion of potentially illuminating imagery. When I came to publish my novels, the first two I did publish, though not the first I wrote, Christopher Marlowe, Water Lane, The Pilgrimage of Christopher Marlowe. That was my 4th written novel, first published. The Wright Brothers' Flight is Possible. I should hold it straight here. That was my 7th written novel, but the second published, self-published in that case. I have a publisher now, but I didn't have a publisher then. So they were my first 2 novels to be published. I decided that I would also make my journals available to potential readers. So novels and journals, both published, both available. But this time I had articulated the problem that my series of novels was designed to solve. It was the problem of designing a form for the poetic novel of our time. So at that time I chose a title for my series of journals, In Search of Form and Meaning. So the Terry Fox Journal is In Search of Form and Meaning 19, because Terry Fox is my 19th novel. At present, as I record this reading, there are 31 journals in the series, one for each novel or novella, all of which are available to those who have read one of my novels or those who are considering such a reading experience. Well, to access this journal for free on my website, go to johnpassfield.ca. Go to Journals and click on the Terry Fox icon. So lastly, thank you for watching this video.